Hi, everyone. So today on the Mod Pod, the Moderation Podcast, we have Brian Miller, who's the founder of Seir Hill. So Seir Hill is a company that makes dark, non-alcoholic spirits. They're delicious. I've been playing around with them actually in mod elixirs. So hi, Brian. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm honored. I've enjoyed our conversations prior to this. I really admire your approach to the market, and I really admire your approach to how you're developing your products. I think it's incredibly thoughtful, and I'm really excited to try them when they hit the market, or maybe even a preview.
Thank you. Yeah, and you were so instrumental in me really taking the plunge. We talked early on when I was really coming up with the concept and the flavor profiles, and they have changed a little bit since then. But yeah, I was, kind of sharing this concept with you, and you were really encouraging. And it's sort of a scary industry to get into. Apparently, it's really easy to get in, but it's not so hard to. It's not so easy, excuse me, to succeed. But you gave me a lot of confidence to move forward with that. So thank you for that.
Well, it takes a lot of resilience, and I can tell that you have that, and it takes expertise, which you have in spades. I actually came at this from a different angle. I didn't have a lot of expertise in formulation and flavor profiles. I knew what I liked in terms of tasting, but I had never formulated a beverage before. My angle was in marketing. I was a creative professional for 25 years and worked with Diageo for a lot of that time. I actually built an agency called Miller Smith, and we were the agency of record for uh, Crown Royal, which is Diageo's largest brand by volume. When I sold my agency, I had a non-compete as a result of that. So I used some of the capital from the sale of my agency to start Sear Hill, just as a way to give myself an alternative to drinking on a Tuesday or even a Friday night.
And so, can you sort of tell me a little bit about how you even started to conceive the idea of making a non-alcoholic spirit?
That's a good question. A lot of things came together at once. Like I said, the non-compete um, that I had meant that I couldn't do graphic design or creative direction while I was at Diageo working as part of my agency. They had recently acquired Seedlip, so I had this notion that there was this non-alcoholic spirit industry coming. And luckily, I'm married to an incredible woman. She is a marketing executive, and for large organizations like Melissa and Doug and Cow Brands, she's launched products. So she gave me the confidence to do this, to launch a brand, which was a bit naive on how much it took in terms of capital, in terms of time, in terms of just really everything. But it was a very, very fun journey of discovery and learning and growing, and um, had a lot of really fun wins, like home goods, for example. We were in everybody laughs. It's like home goods, but we were in every home goods store across the country, 800 locations. And to go from a white piece of paper at your kitchen table to a national retail chain is in about 2 years was really exciting.
Wow, that's incredible. I am sort of at the point with Mod Elixirs that we're finishing up our final formulations for like each of the three flavors. And the thought of actually like walking in somewhere and seeing my product, either like behind a bar on a shelf, is like crazy. I almost can't imagine it. So I
Yeah.
can kind of feel like how that might feel going in and seeing your product that you put countless blood, sweat, tears, hours of your time into.
Yeah, no, in that respect, it's incredibly rewarding. There's actually, I'm very proud of this, and it's not nearly on the same scale, but there's a restaurant around the corner here from my house. It's called the Gray Barns. It's a
I've been there. Yes.
you've heard of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
sort of locally known,
Yes.
I would say. And they were willing to give it a try, so they tried the rum, and they started buying it and they started
Hmm.
making drinks with it. And I when I court investors, I bring them to the Gray Barns because they serve a very beautiful dark and stormy. And so I sat down at the bar and I was waiting for the investor to come. And I said, I don't see Seir Hill behind the bar. Can we get a bottle up there? I've got somebody important. And they said, oh, we keep that down here in the well. The dark and stormy on the menu is the number one selling cocktail of every cocktail that we have, whether it's full
Really?
strength or non-alcoholic. And I was just blown away by that
Wow.
because they have a very long cocktail
Oh, yeah.
list. So I was super excited to hear that, and they go through quite a bit of product for a
Really?
small restaurant. Now that it's very difficult to get a reservation there.
Hmm.
They're packed
Yeah,
every
they're
night.
a really great place. Yeah.
And it very much fits within the brand. It
Hmm.
is a gray barn, and we're built on a farming culture based on my father's history and the barn that I live in. So um, even a small win like that is just very, very rewarding and very fulfilling.
Wow, that's great. And so, I've really been looking into every time I go out and I go to a restaurant, I look into do they have a zero proof cocktail program? Are they using the term mocktail, which is if you're in the industry, mocktail is quite the controversial term, believe it or not. But I think for the average person who's just a regular consumer, they understand the shorthand of what mocktail means. So anyway, so I look at mocktail zero proof. Do they have a menu? Do they have like any inkling? If you go and you ask for, a non-alcoholic drink, like, do they have anything prepared at all? So that I've been doing a lot of research. So it's really nice when a place like Gray Barnes has such a thoughtfully curated zero proof cocktail list that can really be held up against their mainstream cocktail list.
Yeah,
It really sets the restaurant apart, and it shows that they're thoughtful and they care about everybody because not everybody feels like having a strong drink all the time. Um,
that's exactly
yeah,
right.
but
That's a good point. And you bring up a really interesting point about some of the hot buttons in the industry. As a rule, and from a Seir Hill brand standpoint, we've kind of kept arm's length away from those types of debates.
mhm.
If you want to call it a mocktail, that's fine with us. If you want to call it a zero proof cocktail, that's fine as well. And I do understand the difference, but I'm not willing to bicker over it. We bicker over too many things in this world. So what I do, one of the strategies behind Seir Hill was that we as closely as we could, we would make a one-to-one um, variant of a product that people are familiar with. For example, we have a non-alcoholic whiskey. The intent was that it tastes exactly like whiskey, just zero alcohol. And what that does is, and this is one controversial area I do wade into occasionally, is I don't love the idea of a separate menu of non-alcoholic cocktails. It makes it feel like the kiddie menu. So our position to every restaurant is, if you stock our whiskey, our tequila, and our rum, you can take about 80% of your entire cocktail menu and put a little asterisk next to the cocktail and say this cocktail can be made alcohol free using Seir Hill. So if you're at a group of if you're at a table, um, and people are ordering old fashions, for example, you can say, "I'll have an old fashioned, but please make mine with Seir Hill." That makes you feel even more included in the same way someone else might say use George Dickel. So that's one area that Well, it's more of a selling point for us, is that we don't have unfamiliar flavors. We try very hard to create flavors that people are familiar with.
That is brilliant. And I really haven't even, I feel like you're taking the idea of having two equally important menus side by side and actually collapsing that and really just making it one. And it's like, do you feel like having alcohol or not? Because we'll make you just as great a drink either way. And I feel like that's actually taking it to the next level. And that's not something I had really even considered before. I mean, I do think there is a possibility for, creating things that are completely unique that don't haven't existed before as well, and then those are their own things, and I don't even know what that term is
Right.
at this point. But no, that's brilliant, and I think from the standpoint of just really meeting the guest or the consumer where they are.
That's
that's
right.
that's it. Yeah.
And the other thing too, and one of the reasons again we tried to so closely replicate the flavors of whiskey and rum is you can do a 50-50 and have a light version of any drink. So you can mix our rum with your favorite rum 50-50 and just have a lighter version of the same drink and go longer or um, you know but our positioning has always been kind of the blue jeans and pickup truck crowd, which I think has been slower to develop. I do think there's white space there, but sometimes there's white space for a reason because that audience isn't quite ready for it. But one major pivot that we made very early on is all of the research says that Gen Z is not drinking as much, and so that research was kind of glaring. It's like, oh my God, there's such an opportunity here. They're going to love non-alcoholic whiskey. And we learned within 3 months that if you have not developed a taste for whiskey, which is an acquired taste, let's face it, you're not looking for an artificial whiskey that doesn't have any payload, that doesn't have any benefit, I'll call them benefits or so we quickly pivoted towards Gen X, which is my generation, people who have been drinking for 25 years. And I can't tell you how many of my friends tell me I just can't do it anymore. I used to be able to drink a couple drinks even on a Friday night, and I just can't do it anymore. And
Everybody's saying this to me as well, so
yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Even younger, people in their 30s having kids, and now you have all these responsibilities. It's like, oh, we used to party all the time, and I can't do it anymore. Well, now you can still do it. You can still have that routine. You can still have the experience of mixing a drink, making it the way you like, but not have the sluggish feeling the next day. And that's what's really exciting to us.
I love the idea of having the ability to make like a 50% off alcohol drink where you're just doing like maybe half a shot, or one shot and one shot. I
Yeah.
actually had an experience. I was in Chicago a couple of weekends ago, and we were sitting out by the river, and I did want to have a drink. I mean, like an alcoholic drink, but I just didn't want like a full strength one, right? And this place did not have the option to mix anything else. So what I asked the server for, she was a young server, and usually, a seasoned bartender would understand the term tall is basically the opposite of a double. It's like more non-alcoholic liquid to the same amount of a shot, right? That's a tall drink. But I knew if I said tall, this was going to go over her head. So I said, "Hi, could you please just put the drink in a larger glass and add more soda water to it?" And she looked at me like I was nuts. And she
Yeah.
said, I mean, she was nice, but she was like, "I'll see if I can." And then she came back with the same sized glass as everybody else had.
Yeah.
And I just sipped it a little bit more slowly. It wasn't a huge deal. But like what you're actually calling for almost the inverse of that, which is just maintain the same like full flavoredness, right? So instead of watering down the drink, like maintain the flavor, but just make it less potent. And I'm like,
Right.
that's such a brilliant idea. We should be doing
Well,
this.
it's funny. Like I happen to teach at Sacred Heart University, and I love to teach. And I tell my students on the first day that there's an expression that's meant as an insult to teachers, but I actually find it to be a truth, which is those who can't teach, right? And
Oh,
um, I actually firmly believe that. And I teach design, and design for my whole career has been a struggle. It's like I'm not the best designer, but I work through my problems and I have questions and I develop answers for myself. And I think that makes me an effective teacher because when a student comes to me and says, I really don't understand how this works, I had that question 10 years ago, and here's how I solved it. And I mention all of that because, you know, the opposite of that is sort of the Ted Williams theory. You know, Ted Williams was one of the baseball's best hitters, and he could not teach hitting because his idea of teaching hitting was see the ball, hit the ball, and if you can't hit the ball, that doesn't help you. So I'm using these two metaphors to say, like, sometimes you go into a bar and you say, I have a non-alcoholic whiskey. And to me, I'm thinking, this couldn't be easier. Just take the whiskey out and put this in, and now you have a non-alcoholic version. But the amount of like confusion um, mixed with anger that you receive, like why in the world would I take the alcohol out of the drink? I have found that to be perplexing, to be kind, and frustrating, uh, to say the least. Even when I do tastings, I do a lot of tastings at Stu Leonard's. We're lucky enough to have distribution in Stu Leonard's, and you know, 80% of the people are just rushing past me, hoping that I don't call their name. Um,
wait,
the
do
other
they
20.
know that there's no alcohol when they're rushing? Because if
Well,
they're,
when they find out that there's no alcohol, trust me, I've heard it all,
I'm sure.
and it's disappointing. Now, I will say that our products don't do well in liquor stores. That's why I was so happy with Home Goods. Home Goods
Mhm.
is truly a place where there's something new there every time. You're
Right.
there to discover new things. So really, quite honestly, it does sound almost silly, but it's a great place for us. I think grocery, although it's a higher price point for grocery, but grocery is another great place where people are discovering new things. Liquor stores, you know what you want, you know where it is, and you don't want to spend a lot of time there. That's generally the attitude towards a liquor store. So people aren't there hunting around, and they're certainly not hunting around for non-alcoholic beverages. Occasionally, I'll get a woman. I'm going to a baby shower, and I need something for the expecting mom. Well, I've got the perfect thing, and that happens. It started out 2% of the time, and now it's about 50% of the time. It's definitely growing, and I thank companies like Athletic Brewing, which really put non-alcoholic beverages on the map in terms of quality and just pervasiveness and ubiquity. So it's growing, but there's still challenges out there, and it still surprises me how many people are either confused by the concept or even angered by the
Yeah,
concept.
the anger. The
Yeah,
anger. Um, that tells you a lot about the mindset of the person and at that moment. Um, and also, you're as you touched on the mindset of someone shopping in Home Goods where there's an openness and like a search mentality and what can I get that's new and different mentality versus in and out of the liquor store and like, get me my booze as quickly as possible.
yep,
But no,
yeah. It's
I've
funny.
seen the change firsthand as well. Just in like I said, I'm always talking to people just about wine. People hear that I'm a sommelier, and they usually, if they do know what that means, which I have found more and more people know the word, they love that. If they're interested in wine, they're like, "Oh, that's so cool." And then I tell
Yep.
them I'm actually starting a non-alcoholic beverage or an alcohol-free beverage, And then that's a little bit of a confusion, but then explaining the reasoning that I still enjoy my wine occasionally, but I found that it wasn't serving me to be having it as much as I was. And
Right.
so, and then all of a sudden there's sort of most of the time there's a light bulb and they're like, you know what? I can't do it either. Or I don't have the desire to drink like I used to. And then that
Yeah,
connection is formed.
yeah, that's exactly
Yeah.
right.
So I'd love for you to just kind of talk in a little bit more detail just about each of the products and any new spins on the products that may be available these days.
Sure. Yeah, I appreciate that. So our first product was Mashville, which is our non-alcoholic whiskey. It did unexpectedly well. Like we got pre-orders beyond what we expected. And then the first year it sold really, really well. The problem is it's heavy, it's glass, it's liquid, and we were going direct to consumer and we were shipping. So the profitability wasn't there, but certainly the market validation was there, especially after we did the pivot and started marketing towards Gen X. So that with that wind beneath our wings, if you will, we decided to develop a rum and a tequila. I have the rum here. The rum has now led the pack in terms of popularity and demand. It has won the gold medal in the LA Spirits Awards 4 years in a row. It's a very, very popular product. It's a very versatile product. It has a lot of caramel notes. It has a lot of vanilla notes in it. So people are not only using it to make a daiquiri or even a rum and coke. They're using it in oatmeal. They're using it in milkshakes. To give it there's a bite of ginger, so it has a little bit of that alcohol sting to it. And so we're incredibly proud of this product. It was product of the year for Food and Beverage magazine.
Wow.
It was in the Washington Post as one of the top 5 non-alcoholic beverages. So we're just incredibly proud of this. So what we're doing now is really focusing on that product. We're reducing the size because we think between the price point and the pure shipping weight, it can be prohibitive just simply from a nuts and bolts business perspective. So we're going from 750 milliliters down to 375, half the size. Which I think will make it more accessible. It'll also make it more portable, so people can bring it to the beach or to a barbecue, and much more giftable. The other I don't want to say complaints. The other piece of feedback we get is a lot of people will buy the product, pop it open, and drink it straight, and think, well, this doesn't taste like Captain Morgan. I'm out. And these products were never meant to be sipped neat, although the rum is the closest that our beverages come to being able to sip neat. So we're proud to announce that we now have ready to drink dark and stormies. They should be coming out by October. We're hoping, fingers crossed. October 1st for Sober October, we will have
Perfect.
these available and on the shelf. These are just pop them open. The ginger beer and the rum are mixed, and you just chill them and drink them or pour them out over ice with a splash of lime. So we're very, very excited about these. Worked very hard. It did take a while, and that's always been our mentality. And I think that's your mentality too, just to get it right, not just get it to market.
Exactly.
So we're really, really excited to have those hit the market by the fall.
And it's the perfect flavor to launch that time of year with the ginger and the warm spices.
Yes.
It's like the perfect sober October as we're, wrapping up dry in July, as they say.
Yep.
I loved the Biscayne, which is the rum spirit with the Mod Elixir's flavor that's called Origin. So Origin has a lot of similar flavor profiles to the Biscayne. So, because we actually start with balsamic, but we have dates, we have a blend of warm spices, including ginger, cinnamon, coriander. We have, I don't want to give the whole thing away, and vanilla as well, and a little bit of orange. So for that combination, when I mix the two, is like such a treat. So, and I also just like it with seltzer, like just with soda water, it works really well as well. So, anyway, I'm
Thank you.
excited for October 1st. We'll give it a shot.
And I forgot, we are actually coming out with a coconut version of it. So the coconut should be out also in September, late September, early October. And then by spring, we're going to do a pineapple version.
Oh wow!
So we're
And these are the
really,
ready to drinks that you're referring to, right? The canned
actually,
item.
no, they're the base
Oh,
rum.
okay, gotcha.
So if you like Malibu, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but I'm going to say it anyways. If you like Malibu, you're going to love our coconut rum. And then we're going to have a pineapple as well, which we have formulated. I have they're ready. They're waiting to be produced, and if I do say so myself, they're absolutely
Oh
delicious.
man, I am like thinking of frozen drinks. For
Yeah,
oh my gosh, there's so many opportunities. Or like even coquito, which is kind of
yep,
like, you know what this is? It's a coconut based, I guess not eggnog type of drink, right?
sure.
So there's so many like fun things that can be done with these. I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, yeah, and it's just a matter of we know what in our portfolio is resonating with the consumer, and we're focusing on that.
Fantastic. Well, I look forward to tasting all of these new products as they come to market. And where's the best place, for someone listening to the podcast, either to purchase, in store or online? Where can they go about finding the products?
Right now, we're currently sold out, so nowhere. But as of mid-September, you can either get them at seirhill.com or betterroads.com, because we really didn't touch on this, but around this time last year, Seir Hill, the organization, Seir Hill LLC, was acquired by Better Roads. And For those of you who don't know, Better Roads is started out as a marketplace and has expanded into a premium no alcohol beverage company with a number of different offerings for the industry. And one of them is a portfolio of owned and exclusive brands. And Wander and Found Wine is one, Sir James 101 Cocktails is another, and Seir Hill is now another. So the support that they have brought, the knowledge that they have brought, the team that is now surrounding the brand has been just absolutely incredible. It enabled us to do these ready to drinks and these additional variant flavors. So I'm incredibly grateful. I can tell you that I've sold two businesses now. The first business that I sold was not a good fit. It was an organization that was looking to expand its capabilities beyond its core capabilities, and that's a tricky situation. Better Roads was the opposite of that. Better Roads took Seir Hill and made it better. No pun intended. So I continue to be very involved in the company, both as the leader of Seir Hill, but also helping with product development in other areas. So it's been just a tremendous experience.
That's so wonderful to hear. I can't wait to try all the products, especially those new like flavored rums. They sound really interesting. So thank you so much, Brian, for coming on the Mod Pod. I appreciate your perspective, and I definitely would urge all of our listeners to try these. They're so good. I've like personally loved playing around with the flavors at home. So thanks again, Brian.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.